the Serene Disciple Project at Egret Isle Farm. We're in the steamy heart of summer now. Everything on the farm is quietly napping in whatever shade can be found. This morning I put out food and water for everything that needed it. Chickens, turkeys, ducks, dogs. And then the dogs and I took a walk around the farm. It is a blessing in these days of quarantine to be able to walk a 1.5-mile continuous loop and never leave the farm. And then I retreated inside to my cool, dim cave of a study. So let's pretend that this is the porch and talk a bit. Yesterday was a mildly difficult day for me. I was reminded once again how resistant people are to hearing opinions that differ from their own. And I seem to get in trouble for this on a monotonously regular basis. I want to chat today about what I think of as the grace to be wrong. Now, the porch, where we would be if it were a bit cooler outside, is the place within the ethos of the Serene Disciple Project that represents rich conversation and spiritual friendship. But, as I've said before, and was reminded about yesterday, genuine conversation is hard to come by these days. We seem to have lost the capacity for warm, respectful, even friendly conversation among people who disagree on theology or politics or any other of a long list of topics. To even attempt conversation is like starting out across a minefield, having to be so careful where you step and what you say. Even the old conversational standby, the weather, can be problematic. Whew, sure is a warm day today. Narrowed eyes. What are you saying? Huh? Well, maybe a little background would help for those of you who don't know me well. Okay, I won't go all the way back, but suffice it to say that I spent my young adulthood as a fundamentalist Christian, or as near as one can get to it without being born into it. I believed that the earth was less than 10,000 years old and taught creationism at a Christian school. I voted exclusively pro-life, anti-evolution, and listened to Rush Limbaugh religiously. If Fox News had existed then, I'd probably have been a fan. I spent most of my 40s having a midlife crisis in which I systematically examined my whole belief system, top to bottom, beginning with creationism. And I incrementally ended up gently laying down most of these conservative beliefs and points of view. A few of them I threw as far away from me as I could throw them. Now, as I've mentioned in other Serene Disciple videos, I explored Eastern philosophies, learned Zen meditation at the Austin Zen Center, and still have an essentially Buddhist meditation practice. I began practicing yoga and was particularly drawn to Kundalini yoga, which is more meditative than, well, pretzely. I don't work very hard to Christianize these practices or apologize for their otherness. And yet, during most of that time, I was still employed as a full-time pastor in church settings that made it necessary to largely hide who I was and allow my silence to be interpreted as assent to many beliefs and practices that I did not share with those around me. And so finally, about 18 months ago, I made the decision to opt for integrity. I realized that I had spent more of my life than I ever should have hiding me. It has been an interesting, sometimes difficult transition, but, it's also been worth it. And I am now, in addition to producing a YouTube channel about a farm, working on a master's degree in professional counseling, I'm also a licensed minister in a denomination that began ordaining people of color in 1785, women in 1853, and open homosexuals in 1972. It was the first major denomination to welcome the abolitionist movement in the 1700s, participated in the women's suffrage movement in the early 20th century and the civil rights movement in the 1960s, and today sells Black Lives Matter t-shirts on its website. My church offers yoga classes, or did, until the world closed for business last spring. Now, I tell you all of this to make the point that I have walked the socio-political theological spectrum from one end to the other. I voted for Ronald Reagan and 2 George Bushes, as well as Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. I will be voting for Joe Biden in the fall, and you can quote me on that. And though I have landed somewhere to the left of center, I can still understand what it's like to stand almost anywhere on the spectrum. And from that perspective, I would like to offer the possibility that in our conversations with each other through social media or across the dinner table, that it is possible, just possible, stay with me here, it is possible to allow someone else to be wrong, to just let them be wrong, and that be okay. Now, this was admittedly a long time coming for me. As a conservative, I couldn't do it. If you disagreed with me, you were probably going to hell, and you might drag someone else with you. It was my sworn duty to straighten you out before you caused any more trouble. In my 40s, I could have a knockdown, drag-out argument with myself on almost any topic. But in my 50s, I seem to have calmed down a bit. Still stings a bit when I get a call and I'm told, please stop saying things that offend conservatives. Don't rock the boat. Hide yourself a little better. But mostly, I can sit down, share a glass of fine old scotch, and listen to you say the craziest stuff, smile, raise my glass, and say, you know, I think what you just said is bat crap crazy, but it's okay. I give you the grace to think and believe whatever your conscience demands. And who knows? You might be right. I might be wrong. I may not agree with you on that point, but I value your friendship. And sometimes the other person can raise their glass to me and give me the grace to be wrong. Now, to be honest, I almost never participate in social media conversations because social media tends to bring out the very worst in people who seem to feel no hesitation at all to say the most horrible things. And there's no scotch on social media. No ability to look someone in the eyes and see them as a fellow human being with the right to their own opinions and who will probably do just fine without the benefit of mine. Now, I think social media should be restricted to pictures of kittens and puppies and grandkids. And real conversations between people should happen in the context of mutual respect and the grace to be wrong. A good meal or a mug of coffee or a cup of tea doesn't hurt. Well, maybe not the tea, something a little ooey about tea drinkers. But it takes all kinds to make a world, as they say. Something to think about. See you next week.